Hello, my name is Precious Vines, and I am the blogger for The Single Maven. I'm also the author of the soon-to-be released book, The Swedish Transition: Lessons in Life, Love, and Self-Discovery. I wanted to take a moment to talk about the book and let you know where I am in the process, and also do a mock interview of questions that I have basically formulated for myself, but I have not answered them. So that will give you a glimpse about who I am and the writing process without me having pre-scripted my answers. So it'll be more transparent. In regards to where I am with the book, at this point we are in the editing process. So we have secured an editor and we're moving forward. And the publication hopefully will be in the fall of 2017. So keep your eyes open for that. Also go to the website www.theswedishtransition.com for more information. And I will also post it on the blog as well, so you will have a link to the website. And in addition to the editing process, we're also working on marketing as well as our first event. And the first event is scheduled for August the 30th at 7 p.m. It will be a free webinar, and the webinar is entitled, I Believe I Can Fly, Conquering the Battle of Performance. This specific webinar will deal with the topics that are in the book, including performance-based thinking, fear of rejection, also need for validation and acceptance. So that information is also included on the website, so I encourage you to sign up for that webinar. Again, it's August the 30th at 7 p.m. So today we're going to do a mock interview, and I have 10 questions that I'm asking myself, and I have not written down any answers, so this should be fun. All right, so first question. What have you learned through the process of writing the book? I have learned a lot in the process of writing this book. I believe that this book has challenged me to look at myself internally and also externally as far as the transitions that I have encountered. But it's also challenged me to be transparent with myself and to view myself, I would say, from first person and third person, and saying that I'm talking about the writing process. So you have to go through and since this is a memoir and self-help book, technically I'm writing about myself, but using myself as an example. And some of the topics in the book I'm still processing. So I think that that part is an eye-opener for me to actually learn about myself, but also about the topics that are included in the book, which I think sometimes makes it a bit harder because nonfiction in general is something that goes a bit deeper into the internal psyche of a person. So I think that that's what I learned overall with writing the book. All right, so second question. Why is the book named The Swedish Transition? Someone actually asked me that question. I didn't have an answer per se because it just came to me. I did not have, I kind of had another title. I wanted to call it Year 36 because it was it started probably year 35, like when I was 35. Around October 2015 up until the present. But basically it was about transition, and the Swedish transition just came to me. And this book really is God inspired. So a lot of it, I don't really have an answer per se about some of the areas because my first indication was to write a book about singleness, and that's not what happened. So as I was literally typing, what came out was I was going to write a book about singleness, and that was, an eye-opener for me because I was in Starbucks thinking, wow, so it's not about singleness. And how I write is basically mostly, I do write with pen and paper, but mostly with typing. I find that easier. So for me, it flows better with typing, and literally that's what I was typing. So when I saw that on the screen, I thought to myself, this is probably bigger than what I was thinking. All right, so third question. Is there any advice you would give to others writing a book? Yes. I am self-publishing this book, so the advice that I would give to other writers, the biggest thing I would say is be consistent. It took me probably, I would say 2, maybe 3 years. I think I really probably started around 2015, but I write a lot, so some of this includes things that I have written about before and also new things, meaning, within the last few months or within the last year. So I would say be consistent because it does take people, I would say, a long time to write a book, and don't, pressure yourself to be on a certain timetable. But in saying that, I would say stick to the parameters and deadlines that you set. So for me, I wanted to get this published before the end of this year because I felt that God was leading me to do that. Number one, and also I think that it would be due diligence on my part to move forward, because I don't think, with some of the things I want to move forward with in my life and transitioning to a new season, holding on to things from a prior season or previous season kind of hinders me to a degree. And it's not saying that I'm fully cured or healed from, a lot of these things. And I am claiming that I am to a degree, but I still have to process the fact that in order for me to move forward in other goals that I have in life, I have to actually close, the chapter to some of those other areas. And I think this book was one of those areas. So I would say be consistent with what you're doing and write on a regular basis. And even when you get writer's block, I think it's okay to set it down, for a few weeks. And for me, I set it down for a few months, to be honest with you, in some parts of it. But don't leave it just kind of in a drawer for a long period of time, because the longer you do that, I think the harder it is for you to actually pick back up and to finish it. So I think with this being really, for me, a God-inspired project, I felt that I was being led to do it, but also in being a good steward, I don't think that I can continue to sit on it and want to move forward in my life without closing that chapter. So I would say be consistent. That's the biggest thing that I would say for anyone trying to write a book. And also don't compare yourself to other people. Some people can write books, in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 10 years. It just depends. Don't compare yourself to other people. Be true to who you are and what you feel that you can do. And, be honest with yourself if you realize that you haven't really pushed yourself as much as you could, or looked at an accountability partner to help you with those deadlines. All right, so next question. What area or areas were the hardest for you to write about? Wow, okay. I think there are a lot of themes in the book about fear. I talk about fear of rejection. I talk about fear of failure. I talk about social anxiety, and I don't want to give some of it away because, it's kind of, in the book. But I think that reading who I am as a person and some of the things, or the way that I process information and decisions that I've made in my life, and then thinking to myself, do I have regrets about how I have handled some parts? I think it was hard for me to look at that, because even in reading some of it, it was hard for me to actually go back and digest. And I think writing a book that's partly a memoir or a self-help book and it includes real life situations that you go through or things that you have gone through, it takes courage to do that. And I applaud anybody that's attempting to write a nonfiction book and include aspects of your life, because it's one of those things that it helps you heal, but also you have to process those things over and over again. And I think for me, talking about, fears that I have or things that I've done, and I remember instances of acting a certain way or responding a certain way, that was hard for me to digest. But even in the same token, the more I read it and what I wrote was what I needed to hear presently in some other areas and things that I was dealing with. So when I say really God inspired, I think that, God is using me to get a message out, but also for healing for myself. And I think it's a continual process. The more I actually, read it and talk about it and share it with others, the better I will be able to proceed in these areas in the future. All right, so next question. What do you hope the book will do for others? Well, I do hope that the book will be healing for others. I hope that this book is something that people can actually look at and be able to see themselves. And you don't necessarily have to see yourself in all parts. I don't think that there are some books I think I saw myself in more parts than not. But I think that if you can look at this book through the lens of the human experience versus looking at it from the aspect of, just a female or a single person or a professional, all the various hats that I wear, I'm still a human being with, problems, with, experiences, circumstances that I have to go through. And I think this book looks at internal and external transitions and things that everybody or anyone can identify with. So I hope that healing will take place within reading the book, and you will actually be able to identify with these areas, and you will actually take steps to move forward in, being able to grow and transform in such a way that you're not held back by your fears or any transition period that you may be going through. Because in the book, I kind of channel, internal and external transitions at the same time, which sometimes is hard for us to process, but it's a way of life. You may be moving in the same time that you're facing, fear of failure, or you may be going through a job loss, plus potentially moving. You may have to move in with your parents, and then you also may have to look for a job, and then you may land a job, but you also may be dealing with fear and anxiety or performance-based thinking, or, a lot of different things at one time. So I think that it goes to show you that you can go through several different layers of transitions and types of transitions, and it's okay to be able to do that and process it in such a way that you don't diminish who you are. Because I think that the journey that I took, it was a lot, and I'm still going through a lot of different things, but I don't regret any of it because I see it as a life learning process. All right, next question. What is your vision for the future regarding the book? I hope I didn't answer that one. What is your vision for the future regarding the book? Good question. I need to work on my vision board for this book, because I kind of started it and I didn't do probably as much due diligence as I could have. And I think that with this book, the future that I really could see for myself, I could see myself doing speaking topics. I could see myself doing workshops, and I could see myself really doing small groups. And I think that there are a lot of different potential spinoffs with the book. And not just from a business standpoint, but I think for a platform for people to be able to maneuver through life better in the transition process. This was not something that was really on my radar. It wasn't really on my vision board. And I think I shared that with you all before. But in saying that, if God leads me to move some of the things around that I have, that the future for that should include, a bigger lens for me to look at it and what He may have in store for myself as well as others. So I do see some of those things in my future, and prayerfully, it will become a bit clearer as we move forward in the process of publication. All right, next question. Do you see yourself writing another book in the near future? Oh, yes, I do. This book started with probably, I would say 80 to 90 pages of something. I didn't have an outline. So if you're writing a book and you don't have an outline, it's okay. I started this book as a Word document and I actually titled it Introduction. That's what I was supposed to be working on, was my introduction. But I just kept saving it as Introduction because I didn't have an outline. So I just kept typing. And then one day when I realized I was close to 100 pages, I thought to myself, and this is single space, guys, I might have a book here. So, what was the question? Yeah, I do see myself writing another book in the future. I think it will be some of the things that I have not included in the book that I have now, that is in that original document, but also things that I have written about, in my journals, in other places, in the blog, things that I think that I could potentially expound upon. I would like to do maybe a small business book or just some type of entrepreneurship book, in addition to other like personal and professional development books as well. So we'll see what happens. I got to get through this process first. All right, what inspired you to write this book? I think I kind of answered that question, but really it was God inspired. It was really me working through some of the things that I have been going through over the past 3+ years, dealing with unemployment or, career transition, dealing with singleness, dealing with relationships, dealing with the process of who I am as a person and the way I actually deal with myself, as well as some fears that I have, dealing with, desiring marriage and family and not necessarily have reached that milestone. at my age. And that's not saying it's like a death sentence, but I think that all of those things and being able to have a transparent place to share it. And I definitely didn't share every single thing that happened through that, 3-year time frame, even up into the present. But I think this gives you a glimpse of what the transition process looked like for me. And it was really more of a therapeutic manner of going about dealing with some of those things, because I had times where, and I had a moment today, to be honest with you, where I still don't understand some of, the timing, or why did this happen, or why hasn't this happened, or, even like with the career, why am I still in this situation? I feel like I'm in the wilderness, or why am I still single? And I think, one thing that I did come to realize is this book would not be able to be produced but for the fact that I have been in a wilderness period for the past 3 years. And I say wilderness period because it's one of those things where you desire to be at a certain place, to have the standard, like people say, oh, the white picket fence, the 9 to 5 with the kids and the husband, and and that's not realistic for everyone. And even in saying that, if you do have those things are not perfect. But I think that for me overall is dealing with life as it comes, or as it has been presented to me, and being able to deal with it in such a way that me writing this book gives me a new perspective on God. It gives me a new perspective on myself and what I'm able to do. And it also gives me a new perspective on the topic of love. And that's one thing I think that's in the book as well. All right. So next question. How do you see your life changing as a result of writing this book? Wow. How do you see your life changing as a result of writing this book? I think I just talked about some of it. I think I'm coming out of my shell somewhat, because I'm more of an introvert. And I think the way my career has been structured within the last 3 years or so, yeah, it's not a normal 9 to 5 going to office type of thing. So for me, it's been more of dealing with the solidarity of life. I don't even know if that makes sense, but being able to be in my own space and not have a lot of people, a lot of fillers, has changed me in how I see things. And it's very hard in places. I'm not going to say that this is something that I enjoy on a regular basis. I have times where it's really hard, because you have times where you don't really talk to a lot of people. I may not talk to anyone all day, to be honest with you. I've had a lot of days like that. But it's changed me in how I saw myself and what I'm capable of doing, and also how I view life and how I view God, and my relationship with Him. Because without Him, I would not be able to be at this point, and have written the book and be able to talk about it, really, and have learned the lessons that I've learned, and I'm still learning lessons. So I think that, yeah, it has opened a lot of different doors internally for me, and changed me in that way, and to be comfortable with sharing myself, because I sat on a lot of this stuff and I didn't really share it. And there are things that I still haven't shared. But for me to get to this point, potentially publish a book about some of the things that I'm talking about, even if it's not everyone's story, it's my story and it's my truth. And I think being able to stand in my truth and share it with others is quite amazing. So yeah. All right, last question. If you had to do it over again, what would you change about the process you took to complete the book? What would I change about the process? I don't know. This is a hard one. I probably would reach out for support more. And I think that getting accountability in the parts where I was kind of struggling a little bit, and I think maybe had a writer's block and I had looked at it for a while, getting additional support and help outside of myself to be able to look at this a little bit better. But in saying that, I mean, you still may end up in the same place, because finding good support, finding good resources, for me, I think going through this process is an eye-opener, because I do see that, and this is my first book, so I can't say this is a one-size-fits-all solution. But I can say that I think that once you transition into a new career or a new area of your life, yeah, your support system that you may have or your limited support system is going to have to be rebuilt, but you're going to have to look at it from the aspect of how to rebuild yourself as well as your support system in a new area. And considering this is my first book, yes, I'm rebuilding myself in a lot of different areas, but having a good support system is very important. So I would say building a support system and a network as I transition through the process of writing a book, probably sooner. But, you know, you live and you learn. And I think that building a support network is one of the things that I talk about in the book as well. But I think that's one of the things that I had kind of let fall into the wayside. So I think that's one of the lessons that I have learned. And I would say for anyone writing a book that there are resources, and you may filter through a lot of people. I filtered through a lot of editors. I filtered through a lot of, you know, friends and family and relationship situations, you know, over the past few years. But in saying that, don't give up hope because you see that the people that you thought would be there or the people that you thought would respond a certain way have not, because they may not necessarily be the people that need to be in your corner or need to have a relationship with you or fulfill a certain role based upon the season that you're in. I think that's one of the lessons that I have learned, that I'm still learning, that God shifts people around in your life and he brings in new people, different people. But if you pray for support in any of those areas or resources that you need and believe it is going to happen, but you do have to be patient and you do have to actually put yourself out there and not feel that, you know, oh, woe is me because I don't have X, Y, and Z. Well, you may not have it now, but you have to step out in faith and do, you know, your due diligence as well, but also pray about it and believe that those things are going to come to pass. So those are my 10 questions. I'm at 21 minutes, so it's not that bad. But if you have questions for me about the Swedish transition or anything dealing with writing, not that I'm an expert, but I will share what I know, feel free to contact me. You can send me an email, books@preciousfinds.com, or comment on this blog. Thank you for tuning in to The Single Maven.